All right, hey guys, we're with Kelly Goldberg and Brian Nightingale with some of our lightning talks for IGAD 22, and we are really excited to hear about this project. We heard about it in a lunch session in 2020, and so if you guys can tell us what's going on with the project.
Hi, so thanks. Welcome back 2 years later. So since last time, Brian and Nightingale has joined us on the project as well, and we're focused on researching the African American history of Cumberland Island. The initial reason behind this project is that National Park Service acknowledged that a lot of their materials, their interpretive history materials on the island really haven't told the story of African American history on the island. They focus rather on the wealthy white landowner plantations. And so what we are doing is trying to identify descendants of families that lived on the island and bring up their stories and that they're willing to share through oral history research, as well as just get people involved in kind of the decision-making process of how history is told on the island.
Awesome.
So, Brandon, you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing?
Yeah, so I initially got involved with the project because I have ancestral ties to Cumberland Island.
Oh, great.
My grandfather actually worked on the island, so when I met up with Kelly, we were actually able to go into the museum archives and retrieve my grandfather's oral history that he did in the 1990s because he worked on the island.
Wow.
That was pretty awesome. So you can say I'm an example of what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect African Americans back to Cumberland Island and sort of get their stories. So we were fortunate enough to get one interview so far out of Miss Mabel Johnson. She's 94 years old. She just turned 94 years old. We got about a good hour. It was a phone interview. We weren't able to go inside the home right now due to COVID and everything. But we got a lot of her stories. She actually remembered visiting the island as a young girl. She went to a funeral at the time, and then she also recalls at one point in time she was asked to be a maid on the island. She didn't accept that role, but she remembers a lot about the island, and then of course she still is in the area today. So that's just an example of what we're trying to do, again, connect African Americans back to the island and give them some representation in terms of the interpretation and design of the African American history.
Fabulous. And so if you can tell me just like a little bit about just like the background in terms of the project for like where is Cumberland Island, why it's important, why it has this African American heritage?
So Cumberland Island is the farthest southern of the Georgia Sea Islands, the last island before the Florida border. It has a very rich and well-known history, or at least parts of the Cumberland history. At least 4,000 years prior to European occupation, throughout colonial era, during Reconstruction, and into the 1920s and 30s. This is really when it was kind of large-scale occupied. And throughout that time, both European Americans and African Americans have been present on the island, although ironically it was really a much more African American presence than those European landowners. And so first, after initial colonization, African Americans were enslaved on the island, and then after emancipation, they occupied settlement spaces on the island where they engaged in robust, really labor systems. There was a very significant African American church on the north end of the island that has deep historic roots and plays a significant cultural space. And so there's a lot of sacred and important spaces that we've heard that have a lot of meaning to people. And yet those are the stories that are not as well told and not as well known. A constant thing that we're always told is, well, that this church is for Kennedy's. The stories don't focus on the pastors who ran them and the church residents. And so one of the key things that we started with is trying to get those stories that we already have out. And so we built work on this website.
Oh, great.
So what they did was there had been a large oral history project done in the 1980s and 90s. And when we started this project, those oral histories were still sitting on cassette tapes.
Wow.
And so what our students ended up doing was digitizing those oral histories, matching them up with transcripts of them, indexing those transcripts so that people can be hearing those stories as well. So that's another way that, as Brandon mentioned, that his grandfather was on one of those tapes that his family hadn't been aware of because it was kind of sitting silent in the closet.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that in general, all of this, finding these stories that already exist as well as gathering new ones and bringing that forward to the public can share some of that important long-term history of the island so people become aware of it.
Absolutely. And so y'all have, it's obviously COVID, so it's difficult to do interviews, as you had mentioned over the phone. And so is the idea to do more oral histories or to kind of retrace the steps of the cassette tapes that you guys already have?
Yeah, I would say definitely. And of course, COVID has been a challenge, but also sort of working with the National Park Service has also been a challenge for a lot of African American families because they're sort of hesitant on telling their stories.
Yeah.
For a lot of families, they have already given their stories to different organizations like the National Park Service, and they feel like they're not going to do anything with them. So that's where we're coming in, not only as a mediator, but we want to get that side of the African American story as to why are they so hesitant? What was it that the National Park Service did? So we can kind of come to an agreement and again include them in on those interpretations. Because what you don't want, and that's what's been happening, is the National Park Service to do it all by themselves.
Yeah.
We should be able to include those families. And actually, we actually got to go on a trip to Cumberland Island with Dr. Goldberg's class at UofSC, and that was an amazing experience to stay out there for 2 days, get a lay of the land, take some great pictures. And again, I go back to the oral history of my grandfather. I was able to play his recording while I was out there on the island and hear him talk about the people on the island and things like that. So again, it's an amazing place to go if you haven't been able to visit yet.
Oh, perfect.
And to your point, we're both of those things. So we're hoping that emphasizing, getting the stories that already have been recorded publicly available will demonstrate to people how their stories can be powerful for others. So we're hoping to use this as a networking tool as we continue to do outreach into the local communities and community.
That's awesome. That's fabulous. So any hopes alongside that? Anything else that you guys would like to add?
No, I think that's
Well, perfect. Well, absolutely. Well, you guys will be putting this website, which is built on Scalar, which is really cool and looks pretty amazing and multimedia, up on in the comments below. So check it out.